Iowa Hawkeyes women dropped the national championship game 102-85. I had to let this one digest a little bit. There's a lot of fucking hoopla on the internet right now, social media going on. It doesn't matter what social media you're on, everybody's obviously this is a good thing for the women's game. There's a lot of eyes on it. I think, I get what's the saying, bad publicity is just as good to get the attention, everything for the women's game. And I'll briefly talk about everything. And there's a lot to digest in regards to this. I was going to try and make a quick video, but I don't know how long this is going to be. Now, my thoughts are on the game real quick. A lot of people are bitching and whining about the fucking refereeing. And I have to admit, obviously, it's not one of the best officiated game out there, especially for a national championship game. I felt like whether it was too big for the refs or whatever the case may be, we can, break that down. But that didn't fucking cost the game to the Iowa Hawkeye women. Now, did it affect it? Yeah, it definitely affected it. I thought the reffing was horrendous, officiating in regards to the calls on both sides. Now, it wasn't just a one-sided affair. I felt like they didn't let the players play the game. There was no constant flow because of the refereeing. I felt like they were obviously quick to the whistle, but it was just no consistency. The flow of the game, it really hurt the flow of the game. I think, referees they were trying to put a mark that they were in control of the game, but it felt like by doing certain calls, they lost control of the game. And the flow of the game, it was completely fucked up. So we can talk about how LSU, they were on fire the first half. A lot of people don't realize they're not the greatest three-point shooting team, and they went berserk in that first half shooting fucking three-pointers. Jasmine Carson, unbelievable. Iowa Hawkeyes had no answer for her from shooting from threes, and that was pretty much the lead that they needed in the first half. Iowa just couldn't, LSU couldn't miss. It was as simple as that. I wouldn't say Iowa played horrendous defense. It was just LSU's offense was just that much better. They just couldn't miss. No refereeing was gonna stop them from making those threes. So people can bitch and whine about refereeing. I hate that. I hate blaming the refs. Like I just said, they made an impact. Did they, constitute the outcome of the game? No. LSU still made those shots. You have to give credit where credit is due. Luckily, Caitlin Clark was able to come out hot and somewhat keep Iowa in the game. I felt like obviously those initial fouls on Clark and also on Monica, and it was just one of those things where they got into foul trouble. It affected the way they play, aggressiveness and everything, of course. But like I just said, I don't think it would change the outcome of the game in regards to the refereeing. So we'll talk about that. Now, also in the second half, I felt like Alexis Morris of LSU controlled the game. She couldn't miss from the mid-range shot at all. The pick and roll and just, popping it. Iowa couldn't stop that. So no matter what Iowa fan says, and I'm a fucking Hawkeye fan, guys. I'm a huge Iowa Hawkeye fan. I felt like Iowa couldn't stop the pick and roll, and they couldn't stop Alexis Morris. She was just playing out the best player for LSU in the second half. Plain and simple. She couldn't miss. She was balling out of control. She was driving mid-range. Unbelievable. So you got to give hats where hat is due. You got to give credit where credit is due. She played amazing. And I felt like the Iowa offense became stagnant. They couldn't make the normal passes that they normally do. I felt like the length of LSU and their athleticism on defense affected the passing lanes for Iowa. And it definitely slowed down their momentum. I felt like Iowa's fast breaks, usually because that's the way they run, the up tempo. Iowa couldn't do it. They couldn't run the normal offense that they did, and credit to LSU. amazing defense. Granted, like I just said, the reffing was, calls was very inconsistent. The flow of the game, it just ruined everything. It just made for not a good product. And especially when, it's a national championship game. I felt like the refs could have let the players play the game a little bit more. There's fouls on both sides that weren't called. And that's the crazy thing, is that the fouls that were called, some of them were just bad. It was just a bad look in that sense for the officials. Now, the game itself, super exciting, up and forth, up and down, back and forth. And I just felt that a lot of people are bitching about the reffing, and yes and no. It's part of the game. I thought the refs allowed LSU's head coach to kind of dictate what she wanted to do. She was all over the court. Yes, I saw that. Should there have been a technical foul? They probably should have given her a warning before you give a technical foul. Like I just said, this is a national championship game. They should have given her, the head coach for LSU a warning, like, hey, stop yelling in my fucking ear. Here's your warning. Stop running into the court. They let her dictate everything. I felt like they could have at least given her a warning to keep control of that. In regards to the Caitlin Clark technical foul, that was ticky-tacky, bullshit call. It was her fourth foul, and that tremendously affected her aggressiveness, obviously, and the way she can play defense and everything. So I felt like the refs, it sucked that they called that. Should they have called it? I don't think so. Was it, fair to call it? I mean, it's the refs' decisions. They felt like she was the delay game through the ball. It's whatever. I thought it was really, really ticky-tacky. And to call that on the best player on the court, you got to know the situation. The refs got to know the situation. And you got to let these players play it out. They got to know that that's going to be her fucking fourth foul, and it's going to affect the entire, flow of the game, entire game. And it's just one of those things. They should have not called it. That's what I thought. Is their right to call it? Yeah, I guess you can. I mean, I guess it's part of the rules. I guess that was delay game. I mean, she didn't really say it. She didn't say anything. She kind of chucked the ball behind her back, but it's whatever, man. It's a mute point at this juncture. I thought it was really ticky-tacky. Didn't need to call it. Definitely affected the game, affected her gameplay. Fucking sucks on that. So there you go. The early fouls on Cesano and the rest of the team, I felt, obviously there's a lot of ticky-tack fouls. Could have let them play through it. And it was a physical game. I felt like they called the same shit on LSU. LSU had their two main stars also sitting for most of that first half. Reese, she was on the bench too, and she was on the bench. Angel Reese was on the bench too most of the first half with those two early fouls. And that's why I'm saying, like, the refs, it impacted both sides of the teams, LSU and Iowa. They just didn't let the stars and the players play and dictate and win, and let the game be won by the players. I felt like they just affected it. I don't blame them. They just called whatever they're going to call. That's just reffing. It's tough. But national championship game, I think they needed, whether it's a better crew or whoever, it's whatever on that end. Now, in regards to the shit talking, so we'll dive into that real quick. My thoughts on that. So my real thoughts on this is that, look, I'm a fucking huge Caitlin Clark fan. My daughters were devastated Iowa Hawkeyes lost. I was devastated Iowa Hawkeyes, lost. And I'm a huge fan of Caitlin Clark. The fire that she brings. And when people are saying, this is the thing, when Angel Reese, at the end of the game was doing this, you can't see me, the John Cena shit, talking shit, following Caitlin Clark around the whole, at the last 10, 15 seconds. You open the can, you talk shit, and Caitlin Clark talks shit. And I love that shit about her. That's the fucking thing about competitive sports. My thoughts are, a lot of people are making a hoopla about this because, number one, they probably are fans and, of one team or another, and they have issues. I go, look, competitive sports, you're talking about Division I and beyond here. This is part of the game. I wouldn't even say it's part of the game. My thing is, do you really think LSU was going to be talking shit if Caitlin Clark didn't do all that, theatrics prior? And don't get me wrong, I love that shit about her. That's the dog in her. When everybody says that, you know, she's her, that's her. That's because she has that dog in her, the shit talking. She started all that stuff. You know, Louisville. Remember with HVL, she did that first. She did that to her, telling her, "Look at the scoreboard, 15 points. You know, you're down." You know, she did that thing with South Carolina, waving them off. And I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan. I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. I like that shit. That shit was awesome because you know what? That's the fire. That's like, you know what? She is her. She is the shit. And that's why she does that shit. Now, by doing that, you have to understand when you lose, and it happens, if another team beats you, even if Caitlin Clark was still the best player on the fucking court, all right? But you have to understand when your team loses, you're opening another can to another team, and whoever beats you, they are going to give you the business. And Angel Reese gave her the business. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people are like, well, Caitlin Clark didn't chase her, you know, somebody around and talk shit. I go, look, she talks shit. And she, you know, whatever. She does that at her, you know, I guess you can say how she wants to talk shit, right? Nobody has a right to tell Angel Reese how to talk shit. Okay? If somebody opens the can, she can take it to whatever level she wants to take it to. That's just the way it goes. Now, if you're going to get upset because a girl does that or a lady, a woman does that, you got some really thin ass fucking skin. Don't get me wrong, that shit fucking pissed me off. But the way you can shut somebody up from fucking doing that shit, you beat them. Iowa didn't beat them. Okay, simple as that. If Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Iowa Hawkeye women's team, or even the fans, if you guys have an issue with the way Angel Reese, you know, came at her, don't get me wrong, that fucking pissed me off. But if you have an issue, you beat her, you win, and you can talk shit, and you can react the way you want to react. That's the thing. We as fans and people can't put our moral standards or our way of talking shit or our way of celebrating whatever win on somebody else. Everybody's different. Angel Reese, like I said, I wasn't a fan. I was like, man, that shit fucking pissed me off. But when you open that can and you open that door, you got to be able to understand. You got to take it and give it at the same time. Now, next time, if Iowa should beat them, I think Caitlin Clark should go right back at her. She go right back at LSU or anybody else. Like, fuck you. Look at that shit. That's what I'm okay with that. Now, all the old school cats, well, back in the day, we used to shake hands and all, but bullshit. Back in the day, everybody talks shit. The only reason why everybody's having issues because these are women and ladies, and they think it's not unladylike. And fuck that shit. These are competitors, guys. This is my thoughts. I have 4 daughters. All right, 4 daughters, 10 and 10 and under. If they play sports, if they win, if they're good at something, and if they talk shit, you have to understand if someone beats you, they're going to give it right back to you. If you're going to play this game, if you're going to do that, you better be able to accept it when somebody else does it back to you. Now, if you don't want that shit to happen, then don't do that shit. Simple as that. If you really think, I guarantee it, I'm about 99.9999% sure, if Caitlin Clark never did any of that stuff first, if she never said we're up at 15, if she never waved somebody off playing defense, I can almost guarantee you LSU wouldn't have said anything to her, wouldn't have rubbed it in. Because she never said anything about LSU. I get that point. But this is the thing. When you do it to somebody else or somewhere else, it rubs people the wrong way. Everybody's just as competitive as anybody else. So they're going to come back at you. And like I just said, you can't put your moral standard because saying that's okay, but that isn't okay. Somebody, the way that, like I say, Angel Reese is going to, talk shit or rub that in, as a competitor, that's her prerogative. She can do it however level she wants. She will look like a fool if she gets beat, but she won. That's the thing. So you have the right to react and do whatever you want, especially when somebody else did that to, other teams or other, players before. So like I just said, if you can give it, you got to be able to take it. It's my thoughts. And like I said, I was talking to my wife and I was telling her that shit pissed me off. But the way you shut them up is you win. You win. It's as simple as that. The best way to talk shit, the best way to do anything is win, guys. And that's my that's my saying on that. I'm going to have a lot of Iowa Hawkeye fans who, whether they watch this or listen to this or not, are going to be totally disagreement. That was unclassy. I go, dude, this is sports, man. This is the thing. You guys watch the NBA, WNBA. You watch even college football, any of that sports. You watch these. There's a lot of showboating. There's a lot of shit talking. There's a lot of celebrating. There's all that shit. It's not that it has nothing to do with the female, male, nothing, man. It's all competitors. It's it. This is the thing. You look at Caitlin Clark. Do you see her fucking crying in regards to getting shit talked back at her? No, she took it like a fucking champ. She didn't look at it. She goes, whatever, man. I didn't even notice it. I'm too focused. I'm like, whatever. We lost the fucking game. Shout out to them. Credit to them. But I hope she puts that in her bag for next year. Get that little chip on your shoulder. You motherfuckers, I'm going to come back and, I hope she gets that. That's the competitive spirits that I hope that builds on for the Iowa program and for Caitlin Clark. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of hers. I think she's good. I think she's the best player, bar none, in all of college sports. Nobody would even have a say. Nobody would even watch the game if it wasn't for her. And that's the darn damn truth about women's basketball right now. Nobody's watching the WNBA, is what it is. Even though it's a great sport, but nobody watches it. Everybody's watching college basketball right now because of fucking Caitlin Clark. That's what she has done for the game. But I understand this. You open up that can, you got to be able to take it, like I just said. And she took it. Is what it is. On to next year, we get her back, and I'm excited for that. Another thing I wanted to break down in regards to the game, I felt like Iowa's game plan defensively against LSU, it just wasn't the right game plan. I feel like LSU was just a lot more athletic, and I think their ability to be able to hit the three at the beginning of the game and the first half pretty much did Iowa in that sense. They just couldn't miss. LSU off. I mean, they scored 105 points. It's nothing you can really do. Like I just said, hats off to LSU for winning a national championship game. I hope Iowa comes back tougher. I hope Caitlin Clark comes back tougher and better. That's all you can hope for, man. And like I said, it was a great year, great end of the season for all the women's sports. This is the thing. Celebrate it, guys. When's the last time you've seen so many people so interested in women's sports, college basketball of all things, to this level? I mean, it's amazing to see the amount of attention and also the hoopla around this. Everybody's like, oh, I'm never watching another women's sports again. So I've seen that shit all on social media. I see all these comments. I'm never watching women's sports again. The refs fucked it up. This is the thing, guys. You will again. You want to know why? It's because these women are that good. Caitlin Clark is that good. You're going to watch her next year. Everybody, it's must-see TV with her. I think a lot of people have seen, like, wow, these women are very talented. They're going to watch it again. We need a little fucking heat in this. I love that shit talking. I love that because you know what? If LSU ever played Iowa again, which I hope happens, do you not think we're not going to watch it? Fuck yeah, we are. We're going to see what happens, especially if Caitlin Clark's playing again. And I'm telling you, that's what we need in sports, especially in women's sports, to get it over the edge, to get the attention it needs. People need to quit hating on it and appreciate it for what it is right now. And like I said, I think Caitlin Clark is generational talent. She's going to take it to the next level, and we get another fucking year of her in college sports, guys. That's the exciting thing about having Caitlin Clark for another year, is we're going to see her improve. That's insane. Can you think about that? She technically has another year, possibly 2 more years in college basketball, and she can only get better. That's the crazy thing. So there we go. Hats off to the Iowa Women's for taking us to the Final Four. Thank you so much for bringing the love and the excitement to my daughters, to me, into women's college basketball again. To be able to get this fire, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it's headed. Yes, everybody's like, I'm going to switch it off. You will switch it back on next year when you hear the name Caitlin Clark and she's scoring 30, 40, possibly 50 points a game. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see where the Iowa basketball program will go after this. And like I said, man, can't wait. Come on, Caitlin. Shake that shit off, get that chip on your shoulder, and bring it back next year. Let's run it back. Let's run this shit back. That's the one thing about the NCAA championship. It's one and done. You lose, you lose. There's no series. So that's the exciting thing about this shit. So next year, run this shit back and fucking take it home, baby. Let's go. Go Hawks, baby. You guys like this shit? Subscribe.